What's up, guys? Brett Appley here from dailyfanmma.com, back with another UFC quick picks for UFC 263, Adesanya versus Vettori. It is a big slate this weekend. Two championship fights, of course, the middleweight championship, Adesanya versus Vettori. The flyweight championship, a rematch, Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo. That should be an amazing one. And then we have a third 5-round fight, Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz, which I'll get into in a second. That is the first ever non-championship, non-main event 5-round fight in UFC history that I know of. Of course, there's major prizes across the industry. Here at dailyfanmma.com, we got you covered for all your DraftKings breakdowns, needs, and a lot more. And we're offering a special combo package for MMA Premium and access to the betting hub. It's like 20% discounted from the individual prices. You can check that out, hopefully in the link below, on my Twitter handle as well, @Appley, TTPP, and of course at dailyfanmma.com. But let's get into the picks. One cash game play, one tournament play, one salary play, and my fade of the week here on the Mayo Media Network. Shout out to Pat and his team for having me on once again, and make sure you subscribe, like the video as always, and comment below who your favorite DraftKings play is of the week. Let's get started here. My favorite cash game play is going to be Leon Edwards up at the top, 9.5K. All right, Leon Edwards at 9.5K is going to be my cash game play of the week, and I always talk about playing the best plays in cash regardless, and that's why I give them out. I do think you can go a couple different ways on this slate because, like I mentioned, Edwards is in a 5-round fight, Adesanya is in a 5-round fight, Figueiredo is in a 5-round fight, and maybe you can't fit them all into your lineup. There's not just one right way to play this slate, but it's hard for me to overlook Edwards, who is a minus 600 favorite against the returning Nate Diaz. And I love my boy Nate Diaz, but unlike Adesanya, who's minus 260, and Figueiredo, who's minus 210, Edwards is the biggest favorite on this slate by far at minus 600, and he has a strong inside distance line at minus 110. And the fact that it's a 5-round fight, not championship, doesn't mean anything to me. It's still 5 rounds to work with. He just has a tremendous floor and ceiling, and the good news for Edwards here is that he has a lot of ways to score. He doesn't typically land strikes at a high rate, only 2.56 significant strikes per minute, but we know Nate Diaz is going to push a pace. Edwards is going to have to land a high number of strikes over 25 minutes to secure the win, and not only that, I think he has, knockdown potential as well. It's not that Nate Diaz is shot or anything and has been very durable throughout his career, but, in his last 2 losses, he was dropped 5 times. He was knocked down 3 times by Conor and twice by Masvidal, and he's, a little bit hittable, and I think Edwards packs enough power to hurt him at points and potentially put him on his butt. That doesn't mean he's going to get the knockout, but knockdown equity is important to me, and I think Edwards has that here. I also think Edwards can wrestle. He lands 1.35 takedowns per 15 minutes, but Nate doesn't really defend takedowns very well, only 42%. Nate is a very strong submission grappler, so he'll welcome being on his back, and that is just going to play into Edwards' strength of earning top position and holding it. I don't think Edwards is going to submit Diaz by any stretch, but again, Diaz is going to be pushing a pace. It's going to force Edwards to create more exchanges, and unless he wants to just pitter-patter on the outside of the octagon for 25 minutes, if Diaz is closing the distance, Edwards is going to have to be stuck in the pocket or in the clinch, and I think he's going to look to wrestle. It's just the easiest way to neutralize a pressure game, and he should be fairly safe in top position. So the bottom line here is Edwards can score via strikes, he can score via knockdowns, and a finish, a good inside distance line. I don't know if I mentioned it. Minus 110, it's pretty strong. He can land takedowns. With takedowns comes control. With takedowns comes non-significant strikes. And based on the betting line alone, he is the safest fighter on this slate at minus 600. 5 rounds to work with. There's not much negative I can say about Edwards. The only thing is the price, 9.5K. I would understand if you wanted to play Figueiredo ahead of Edwards or Adesanya theoretically, and there's some other strong fighters in this range who we'll talk about, but I think Edwards rates out as one of, if not the very best option on the slate in cash games, so he will be my cash game play of the week. All right, let's move on to tournaments, and I'm going to go $100 cheaper there and target Jamal Hill at 9.4K. I know he's expensive, and you might just think, wow, you're only looking at expensive fighters here. But again, in this range, there's Matt Frivola, who's an excellent value. Figueiredo is going to be very, very popular. Evloev's a fun fighter. Adesanya is going to be very popular. Leon Edwards is going to be very popular. I'm not sure that Jamal Hill at 9.4K is going to come out of this range chalky. He's not going to be overlooked, but I really like him for tournaments because of his early finishing upside. He's minus 290 against Paul Craig here, and the downside is we don't have a ton of data on Jamal Hill, and the data we do have, in terms of his wrestling defense, we don't have a lot of data. And the data we do have doesn't look amazing. He has shown the ability to get back up to his feet, but Paul Craig is going to look to take him down here. So I don't really see this fight playing out competitively. Either Paul Craig can take him down, hold him down, and finish him, or he can't. And if he can't, I think Hill is probably going to blow Craig out of the water on the feet. He is just a much more effective striker, a sharper striker, a dangerous striker. And Paul Craig, you go through his UFC career, first round knockout loss to Tyson Pedro, first round knockout loss to Khalil Roundtree, third round submission loss to Jimmy Crute, followed by a first round knockout loss to Alonzo Menafield, and he has a split decision loss to Shogun Hua. Point being that he's been knocked out in the first round 3 times already in the UFC. And Jamal Hill is a dangerous striker, coming off a second round knockout over Ovince St. Preux. Prior to that, a first round knockout over Kleedson Abreu. Earned a second round knockout on the Contender Series. He also lands strikes at a very, very high rate, 7.9 per minute currently. Paul Craig's at 2.4. I just don't see this being competitive. Jamal Hill, attacks the body too and the head. Maybe it won't come in the first minute, but I think if Jamal Hill wins, it's very likely to come by knockout. He has one of the best inside distance lines on the slate at minus 130. And again, we're looking for upside here. If Hill wins in any other fashion besides an early knockout, I don't think he's going to end up on the optimal lineup. He's not going to wrestle. I don't think he's going to get there in a decision just based on the 5-round potential in this top tier. However, I think he has more first-round knockout upside than almost any other fighter on the slate. And on another slate, he might be the chalk. But on this particular slate, at the price, I don't quite see the ownership getting as high as it would be normally. So I like Jamal Hill. He's a very strong play. This should be a great fight to target overall. Minus 285 ends inside the distance. Hill is going to be my tournament play of the week there, up at 9.4K. All right, let's move on to my salary play of the week. Looking at the main event, I'm going to go with Marvin Vettori at 6.9K. I love the underdogs in these championship fights, and not even necessarily that I'm very confident to win, but for example, Brandon Moreno has already fought Figueiredo once, and he scored 80 points in a draw. He has a very high floor and a high ceiling in that matchup. I absolutely love Figueiredo versus Moreno from a DraftKings perspective. Vettori is going to be my salary play of the week because his path to victory is a little more clear. Moreno's going to have to brawl. Vettori probably just needs takedowns. He's fought Adesanya once. It was early in his career, and he lost a split decision. It shouldn't have really been a split decision. He lost the first 2 rounds pretty clearly, but he was outstruck 24-18 in round 1, outstruck 23-15 in round 2, and then he landed 2 takedowns in round 3 and won that round clearly. And now this is a 5-round fight. Vettori has improved since then. Adesanya has improved since then. But we've just seen Adesanya lose to Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight, in which he gave up 3 takedowns on 5 attempts and gave up 7 minutes of control. Now, Blachowicz is a much bigger fighter than Vettori, and it's a different division, so the physicality angle is not exactly there, but it's the same sort of way that Adesanya was exposed, right? Whether or not Vettori can get him down easily and quickly and hold him down for long periods of time, I'm not as sure about, but I do think Vettori is at the very least going to attempt a reasonable number of takedowns here, and I don't think Adesanya excels as a wrestler. His double leg defense didn't look good. He couldn't scramble off his back. He's a competent submission grappler, but I don't see him submitting Vettori from the bottom. So it's very possible that all Vettori needs is, 2 takedowns to win 2 rounds, and then we're looking at, maybe it's 2-2 going into round 5. Vettori has a clear path to victory here. Now, if the fight plays out on the feet, he's most likely going to lose, but the positive there is that Adesanya still doesn't land strikes at a high rate. 3.95 per minute, it's fine. He's still defending strikes reasonably well, but Vettori is aggressive and tough and willing to throw, and he also lands 4.14 strikes per minute, only absorbing 2.9. So even though Adesanya is going to be winning this fight at range, it may not be a blowout, and we've never seen Vettori badly hurt. We've never seen him knocked down, so there's a good chance this fight extends a while. Looking at the props here, over 2.5 is -250, over 4.5 -140. Fight goes to decision -130. So generally, it's expected that this fight could go the full 25 minutes, and even in a 25-minute loss at 6.9K, Vettori is pretty likely to put up a decent score. He put up 37 points against Adesanya in 3 rounds the first time. Maybe we're looking at 50 points in 5 rounds in a loss in this fight. That's obviously not what we want, but my point being that as long as he fights for a handful of rounds, he's going to score reasonably well. If he lands a couple takedowns, he can rack up control, non-significant strikes. So he has a high floor and then a very high ceiling. If Vettori wins this fight, it's going to come from takedowns. In his last 3 wins, 156, 129, 125. He just landed 11 takedowns against Kevin Holland. So over 5 rounds, that's a good sign. I mean, he's not going to land 11 here, but just shooting for takedowns that many times over 5 rounds is a positive. 20 minutes of control there for Vettori. I think he's a good option to save salary. And there's plenty of fighters to pay up for on this slate. Vettori allows you access to the main event, to a championship fight with a reasonable path to victory, while still being able to pay up for the high upside options you want. So Vettori down there at 6.9K is going to be my salary play of the week. And finally, my fade of the week, I'm going to go with Pannie Kianzad at 8.8K. And she's just too expensive. Fighting Alexis Davis, she is -190 to win, but she is only plus 685 to win inside the distance, which is very, very poor. She's a decent boxer and a decent fighter, and Alexis Davis is getting up there in age, nearing 40 years old. She's pretty slow. She's not super athletic. So Kianzad might very well win this fight, and Kianzad has decent volume too. 5.14 strikes landed per minute. Coming off 3 wins in a row, she landed 98, 103, 92 significant strikes. That's excellent, and I think she could maybe keep this fight upright. Punch Davis in the face a few times, cut her up, make her face red and swollen. That's what happens in every Alexis Davis fight. And Kianzad might take a decision. I just don't think it's going to be enough at 8.8K, especially on this slate. Historically, Kianzad hasn't scored too well in those decisions I talked about. She put up 79, 72, and 72. At 8.8K, I'm looking for 90 or more. And on this slate, probably 100 or more. I mean, there are going to be some big scores on this slate. It's a 14-fight slate, so we need, if you're playing large field tournaments, you're looking for the perfect lineup essentially. It's not, can this fighter win? I mean, I feel pretty good about this fighter winning. You need big scores in tournaments, so I just don't think Kianzad can get there, and the inside distance line doesn't, help. She doesn't really wrestle. The volume is great. It just doesn't score super well on DraftKings. So at 8.8K, I'm not going to be playing Kianzad. Too expensive for me. She's going to be my fade of the week. All right, guys, that's going to do it for another UFC Quick Picks. Thank you so much for the support. Follow me on Twitter, Appley, _T_P, and again, dailyfanmma.com for all your DraftKings and betting content needs. Check out that combo package this week for a 20% discount. Thanks again to Pat and the team for having me on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and again, let me know who your favorite DraftKings play is. 28 fighters on the slate, man. You could do a lot of different things this week. Looking forward to seeing some unique constructions. Best of luck. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.